Law firm owner, after working with over 1,000 law firms, I know there are only 5 proven ways for law firm owners like you to work less and make more profit. I'll show you how to stop working so much and profiting so little. Instead, you'll learn how to profit too much and work too little. How's that sound? This is not theory. These are the only 5 proven ways to finally experience the freedom and profit that you went into business for.
Dun, 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 dun. All right, yeah, today we're talking about 5 ways to work less and make more money as a law firm owner. So it's an important topic. It's something I don't think spend enough time on, the science of working less and making more. And I can't think of a better partner in this discussion than the one and only Vic Ciuffetelli. So Vic, for those who don't know you, why don't we give a quick introduction? And then we're going to dive right in.
Okay, thank you very much for having me on, Bill. Well, I am a team member here at SMB. We have been with SMB for 2.5 years, but have been an entrepreneur for 45 years, have worked with businesses all around the world for at least 35 years. So business is my passion. Business is what I know.
Yeah. And it's all Vic likes talking about. If you tried, except for sports, some sports, you know. So what we're going to break down is the science of working less and making more today. And before we dive into these 5 techniques and methods, big picture concepts, Vic, I'd like for you to just share some of your kind of initial thoughts on why is it mission critical and even essential for someone to discover how to work less and simultaneously, as they work less, make more money?
Yeah, well, I think that, look, that's everybody's dream, Bill. I think that's why everybody got into business. I think everybody here got into business because they wanted more out of life. I don't think anybody got into business because they wanted to work more hours and make less money. So assuming that that's why everybody got into business, they want to make more and actually have a life and enjoy spending the money that they've made. They have to view it from a different standpoint. And, you know, when you make the decision to start a business, you need to acknowledge to yourself that you now have 2 professions. Number 1 is the profession of what you do, attorney. And number 2 is the profession of who you've got to become, which is business owner.
Mm. And what's the difference between those 2 things, Vic? Didn't I learn how to become a great business owner in law school?
Well, then you must have gone to a different law school than everybody else went to. Yeah, and look, and that would be the same. It's not to put the law school down or lawyers down. That's the truth for any profession. All right. Anybody that starts a business, because they're generally good at what they do. All right. So again, here, a lot of lawyers on the call, they are good at being lawyers. And they probably invested 5 years and a lot of money to get that certificate to say, hey, I'm a lawyer. They learned a lot in that time. Then they went to work as a junior somewhere in a corporation to understand the skills of what it is to become a great lawyer. So they paid the respect to that profession. The question would be, if you spend 5 years learning how to be a lawyer, plus spending a lot of money, how much time did you spend, or how much time did you devote to becoming a business owner?
Mm. And it's usually completely inverted, right? It's for every 1 minute you spent on becoming a great lawyer, you're lucky if you spent 1 second of that 1 minute on how to become a great business owner, which is a 60-to-1 ratio, right? We've spent 60 times more time on how to be a great lawyer than we've spent on how to be a great business owner that happens to run a law firm. And where focus goes, energy flows, right? And
Absolutely.
Brian Tracy said it best, who I've had the privilege of interviewing probably 4 times. And he said it best, that garbage in, garbage out. And I don't think necessarily everything learned in a trade-based education like law school, it's not garbage going in. That's the right information. It's great information. It's how you've created a business fighting for your clients. But the question is, how do you get other people to adopt the operational information so that you can adopt the business information? So how to work less and make more money. These things are not trade-offs. And that's the first and most important point I want to start with today is if you work less, what do most people think is going to happen to their bank account? Well, most people think is they're going to make less money. Oh, if I work less, I'm going to make less money because I have been in what's called the time for money economy, right? I've operated in the time for money economy. I've been trading my time for money. Therefore, I believe if I spend less time invested in my craft, invested in doing work, day-to-day work, I believe I'm going to make less money, right? That's the time for money economy. The opposite side of that is the commission economy, right? Also known as the results economy, where if I produce a big enough result and I get a cut of the result that I produce, I'm in what's called the commission economy. And this is why it's no surprise that many of the most successful business owners have a skill in sales. They, if you look at a sample size of 100 entrepreneurs, you're going to see at least 80 of those 100 entrepreneurs, they got their start selling products and services, right? And when you learn how to sell products and services and you learn how to get a commission from your efforts, you enter the results economy for the first time, where you realize, oh, wow, I can control my financial destiny because if I sell more stuff and I learn how to do that more efficiently, I'm going to get paid more, right? And then over time, business owners optimize the way that they sell stuff, right? And they get smarter and faster at selling stuff. And once they get good at selling stuff, they learn how to have other people do the work on the stuff that they sold. And in the middle of that equation, someone who learned how to sell stuff at scale and someone learned how to hire a team to deliver on that stuff at scale, you find this little tiny cohort of people who actually are entrepreneurs, right? But most people live in one of those two categories for their entire lives.
Yeah, I think you'll never make a change if you see yourself as a lawyer that's running a business. You need to see yourself as a business owner that just happens to be a lawyer.
Right. And that's where we get into the business owner category, which we'll talk about today. So the topic today, again, 5 ways to work less, make more money. We're going to go into these 5 ways in just a second. Now, there's 3 outcomes of today's session, and I want to explain those 3 outcomes. I want to make sure everyone's in the right room before we go into these 5 specific ways you can work less and make more money. Outcome number 1 is you want more growth in your law firm. Outcome number 2 you want as a result of today is you want more freedom from the day-to-day of your law firm. You want to stop working 12 to 16-hour days. Last but not least is you want to make more from your law firm. You want to profit more from your law firm, right? How many of you want all 3? How many of you want predictable growth, predictable freedom, and predictable profit? So you're hammering all 3 of these things, right? That's the result of today's session if you implement what we're talking about. Growth, profit, and freedom, okay? Now, we offered this last week. I am going to offer this one more time this week, okay? If I could give you a custom report that shows you exactly what's stopping your firm and you from achieving the growth, the freedom, and the profit that you deserve, how many would be interested in a completely free report analyzing your firm across these 3 categories: your growth, your personal freedom from the firm, and your profit from the firm? Well, today we're going to be offering one more time the growth, profit, and freedom roadmap. And what you're going to do is you're going to fill out a couple questions about your firm, and then we are going to give you an analysis-based report on exactly where your firm stands from 4 categories: your lead generation system, your intake system, your team system, how much of a self-managing team you have in your firm, basically meaning, can you replace yourself in your firm? And last but not least, your profit planning system. We're going to analyze your firm. We work with 600 of the fastest growing law firms in North America, and we are going to analyze your firm against the best practices of the best firms, not just in your market, but in the entire North America market, okay? You're going to walk away with a custom ranking of your firm across these 4 areas, along with a prescriptive breakdown of exactly where you need to focus your time and energy to solve the areas where you're not scoring close to a 100% and to double down on the areas where you're already doing well, okay? The link is smbteam.com/roadmap. We're giving out 20 of these today and 20 only. And if you want to be one of those 20 firms to take advantage of this report, we will eventually charge thousands of dollars for and doing an analysis for firms like this. If you want to get that for free, click smbteam.com/roadmap. And we'll even extend you the opportunity to talk to a member of our team to actually help you break down exactly how you can take action on the report and implement it in your firm immediately, completely free, no strings attached. All right, so that's our token of gratitude to you for showing up today. So the first thing I want to start on today is these 5 ways that you are going to work less and make more money. Okay, work less, make more money. The number one thing that I want to start with today is resetting what your personal vision for success is. This is a topic Vic has a lot to talk about, and he's always pushing the importance of having your business reflect your personal vision, right? Not the other way around. Have your business control your personal life, which is what unfortunately most of our businesses do. Instead, let your personal vision of success drive how your business runs. So we invented something with the help of Vic and a couple members of our team. After working with thousands and thousands of businesses, we invented something called the Lawyer Legacy Staircase. And it's one of the first concepts in our book, Law Firm Growth Accelerator. If you haven't read the book, it's costing you tens of millions of dollars every year you don't read this book, okay? It's everything we know about scaling firms and creating 81% growth rates across the 600 firms we work with across every conceivable practice area out there. But the bottom line is this Lawyer Legacy Staircase, within it, your personal vision and bits and pieces of it are going to be reflected, okay? So we all start out at the lowest level of the staircase as law students. This is where we pay money to learn, right? We pay money to learn. That's a pretty bad deal, right? Because then when you become a lawyer working for someone else, step 2, you actually earn money to learn on the job. So this is a complete inversion of what happened in school. In school, you paid money to learn. When you become a lawyer, it's a tremendously better deal, lawyer working for someone else, because you're getting paid money to learn on the job with real world issues, right? Only 20% of lawyers that work for others, for other law firms, end up taking the leap to becoming a solo practitioner, right? This is what we call a team of 1 or 2 helpers plus an owner, right? The majority of law firms in North America are solo practitioner firms, and that's because the majority of law firm owners do not know how to scale a law firm. So they stay trapped there forever. They tell themselves, when you're a lawyer working for someone else, they say, I'm going to go out and work for my what? Let me know in the chat. I'm going to work for myself. But is that true? Do you truly work for yourself? Are you just alone in a padded room all day, not, no responsibilities to anyone else, truly working for yourself? No, that's not true, right? We are on call for all of our client problems because all of our clients are being managed by us. We're on call for all of our team's problems that pop up throughout the week. So we actually get less freedom, less working for ourselves than when we were a lawyer working for somebody else. So the complete inversion happens. You think you would have more freedom, but you work more hours than you ever thought imaginable. And most times you make less money, which is why I believe since most law firm owners pass this solo phase at some point, we kind of get addicted to working harder and making less money, because that's what the majority of law firms went through for the longest time period of them starting their firms, is they got used to working harder and making less money. But then some law firm owners try to expand upon that solo infrastructure, right? And a solo infrastructure, if expanded, will eventually break. A solo infrastructure will eventually break. And you'll see how this gets to your personal vision in a second. A solo infrastructure is this: everyone depends on who? What's a solo infrastructure? Everyone depends on who? Me. Yes. You are the center point. You are the bottleneck of the entire business. So if you go from having you plus 2 helpers to you plus 10 helpers, and you don't rework the organizational structure of your law firm, your head is going to spin off. This is where law firm owners adopt the belief of, if I make more money, I'm going to have more problems. You've heard this before: more money, more problems. You think, if I expand my team, I'm going to have more problems. If I expand my client base, I'm going to have more client problems. That's because you tried expanding a solo infrastructure to get to the small business manager category, which is really just a bigger team with everyone still depending on you. You still work for your clients. You still work for a small team on call for every concern, every fire that pops up. A very small percentage of law firm owners actually end up becoming the CEO. About 2% of all law firm owners end up ever truly becoming the true CEO of their practice, working on the business, not in the business. That's what CEOs do. When you become a CEO, you now work for 2 things. Instead of working for on call for your team and on call for your clients, you now work for a vision and a leadership team. And you have tremendously more free time when you become the CEO of your firm, not the small business manager of your firm. Now, when you're the CEO of your firm, you are still working a bit in the business, just a little bit more on the business. But the ultimate level we all need to get to is the law firm owner category, where we own a business that runs itself. That's what law firm owners are. We own a business that runs itself. Just like the owner of Coca-Cola is Warren Buffett, largest shareholder in Coca-Cola, but he's not the CEO of Coca-Cola, and he makes 20 times more than the active CEO of Coca-Cola every single year because he owns Coca-Cola. He doesn't work in Coca-Cola. Once we have gotten to the law firm owner category, we have what's called a proven business model, PBM. Proven business model. Once we have a proven business model, we then can become an entrepreneur and duplicate that business model, or we can step away from that business model and become a freedom entrepreneur, let our business run itself, and live the 4-hour work week and travel wherever you want, spend as much time with your family as you want, buy vacation properties all over the world. That's what I look at as entrepreneur. You can either be a freedom entrepreneur or an expansion entrepreneur, but it requires a proven business model, a PBM, in order to be an entrepreneur. Either way. Last but not least, we become a wealth multiplier. This is the highest stage of entrepreneurship, where instead of our time making us money, our money makes us more money. This is where we are an angel investor. We buy other practices, and the primary way through which we multiply our income is by multiplying money, not our time, right? Now, within this staircase, I share this context because for you to have a vision of your future, of you working less and making more money, you have to understand this staircase. Because until you become in the top 4 categories up here, truly running a business that happens to be a law firm, it's going to be pretty hard to have a personal vision that you actually believe is possible to reach. If you're working 16 hours a day, that's like asking someone who's in the trenches of a war while they're getting shot at from machine guns in the middle of a war, going over to their bunker and saying, "Hey, John, I see the sniper over here. I see this machine gun shooting at you right now. Tell me about your life vision, John, buddy." And meanwhile, no, I'm just trying not to die. Of course, John's not going to have that big of a vision, right? You're focused on survival, right? So which of these levels are you absolutely positively committed to making your next level of identity? And then how do we match your personal vision to it? Vic, I want to hear your interpretation, your thoughts on how and why is it so critical? If we want to work less and make more money, why do we have to reset our personal vision so that we can actually see that at the light of the end of the tunnel as being possible for us?
Well, I mean, look, anybody that's achieved anything in life has started with a dream. All right. This is not a new concept, but we don't seem to embrace it as business owners. Athletes, great athletes do it all the time. It's their personal why, it's their vision, what they want to create, and they spent every morning manifesting that. But as business owners, we don't adopt the same success behavior. So it's important to understand, what does my ideal life look like? But for someone that's in the trenches, as you've just explained, Bill, that's hard. That's a hard concept. So you've got to pull yourself away from the trenches to be able to even start thinking about what blue sky thinking. All right. If I could design my perfect life, what would it look like? What can I be passionate about? But to your point, if you're in the trenches, it's difficult to be able to have that dream. So you've got to take yourself away from work. Even if it's sitting down, having a cup of coffee, cup of tea in the wilderness somewhere. All right. That removing yourself from your current environment will allow you to think more, will allow you to think better.
And when we look at personal vision, right, we remove ourselves from the line of fire in our business. Maybe we take a step away from the business. Like you said, blue sky thinking. We have to get searingly clear on what outcome we want from our business. How do we measure it? What outcome do we want, right? Do we want this law firm's outcome? By the way, this is some of you may be here right now in your firm. Do you want this law firm's outcome to be just, I run it for another 20 years, and then at that point in time, it's worth nothing. Nobody wants to buy it. Therefore, my life's work is basically just going to need to be shut down one day. I'll be able to leave a very limited legacy for my family, limited wealth for my family, and then the business will just shut down one day. After 16-hour days, working 6 to 7 days a week constantly. So the three outcomes that we look at when it comes to personal vision, right? We have three business outcomes, and then we have life outcomes as a result of the business outcomes. Here are the business outcomes. I want everyone to look because I'm going to go draw on the whiteboard real quick. Okay, your three business outcomes. Okay, and if you've read our book, we talk about this early in the book for a reason, because we want you to be clear on your personal vision. Number one is autopilot and profit. Outcome number two is sell. Outcome number three is scale and dominate. Let's kind of break each of these down. So number one, and this is the most common that law firm owners want on the hundreds and hundreds of law firm owners that we work with, is autopilot and profit. What this basically means is you want the firm to work with or without you. You want it to operate with or without you. You want it to run a little bit more on autopilot so that your time is not the main currency generator in the business. And as a result of your autopilot business, you want to take home a cash distribution from that business, i.e. profit. Okay, autopilot and profit. Now, this is a valid end game for a law firm owner, okay? There's an attorney that I know that I've interviewed multiple times that does probably $40 million a year in fees, very successful law firm, and the whole firm is completely dependent on him. He's the face in all the advertising. He's like still the bottleneck in so many parts of his business. The company is not sellable for that reason, but he's making like $8 million a year in take-home income, right? So, okay, great. That's his outcome. He's happy. That's what he wants. He likes working 16 hours a day. At least he's tricked himself into believing that, but he thinks he likes working 16 hours a day. He's making $8 million a year. You don't even have to sell your law firm at that point, right? You could just make $8 million a year for 10 years, stash away $80 million. You don't even have to sell your firm. You could just shut it down. You've made 80 million, right? That's autopilot and profit. That's an example of that. That is a valid business outcome. Second is sell, right? We want to sell our firm at some day as an asset that someone else purchases from us, right? We want to get out of the law at some day. We want to, have a successful business that someone else would buy. 90% of law firms, do you think they are sellable or are not sellable? Well, most law firms are actually sellable at a terrible, terrible, terrible dollar amount, like 1x your profits or something horrific. That's because it's not, obviously, only someone would pay 1x profits on a business that is not a business. It's a sole proprietorship that you're just buying a client base of or something, right? So I'm saying if you want to sell your law firm for $10 million, $20 million, $50 million, by what date? I want to see a dollar amount and I want to see a date. 3 years from today, my law firm sells for $10 million. That's what I mean by the sell outcome. And last but not least is scale and dominate. I fall more within this category in my current phase of life is, I just want to conquer territory right now. I'm not really worried about, my personal take-home income or, things that are, kind of these business outcomes. Like I actually have fun playing the game of business. So I'm more in the scale and dominate category. And that's just my personal thing. That's not where most law firm owners are, and that's completely fine and okay. But these are the 3 business outcomes. You want to scale and dominate, which is usually a top-line revenue goal. You want to expand. You want to conquer territory. You want to dominate your market, dominate your practice area. You want to sell, or you want to autopilot and profit. But here is the thing I've learned. Some entrepreneurs can actually set their success up to demand all 3. You can build a firm that works without you and profits a lot. As a result of building a firm that autopilots and profits, are you going to have a more or less sellable law firm? What do you think? You're going to have a more sellable law firm. So boom, you kill 2 birds with 1 stone. That means sellable. I always say a sellable law firm does not mean you must sell your law firm. It means it's sellable, though. People throw money at it. People want to buy your law firm because it's such an appealing business, right? It's so not dependent on you as the sole revenue generator that someone's like, man, I really want to buy this business because it's a money printing machine and it's not dependent on the owner. And then scale and dominate. Well, how easy do you think it is to scale and dominate when your business is autopilot and it's profiting a lot? Well, that means your business works with or without you. So it's very easy to expand a business where you're not the bottleneck in. So all 3 of these outcomes can be one and the same in terms of your focus. But the question is, what's the next step for you? What's the next priority for you? Do you need to focus on autopilot and profit for a bit? Do you want to push sell to the side for another 5 to 10 years and really work on autopilot and profit, right? Or do you need to go through a period of 2 or 3 years of just rapid growth, then focus on autopilot and profit, then focus on sell? By the way, that model right there is the most proven model I've ever seen to wealth creation in business. First, you start by focusing on top line revenue growth, scale and dominate. You start at level 3. Then, once you get to a certain level of growth, you start focusing more on, all right, let me remove myself from the business more. Let me profit a little bit more from the business. And then, boom, you go and you try and exit the business. That's the most common wealth creation through business method. Top line revenue first, then systemization and profitization, then sellable asset, right? But if you focus on making it sellable before you've scaled and dominate or have any profit and the firm runs without you, your priorities are probably in the wrong order, right? But these 3 business outcomes, what do they produce for you? So Vic, this is what I want to talk to you about, and this is what I hear your thoughts on. These are the 3 business outcomes, but we really don't want these things. What we want is what's going to be produced in our life as a result of achieving these things, which are...
Yeah. So look, business is designed to give you more life. So what does more life mean? And we're all going to be different. All right. For me, more life means adventure. I want the freedom to travel. For me, an ideal life has 4 homes in 4 continents. For me, the perfect life is about providing for my family. More than provide. We're all providing for our family. I mean, setting up the next 3 or 4 generations. For me, the perfect life is about contribution, leaving a legacy. For me, it's also part of rewarding myself. So to make sure that I live in luxury. And this is something that a lot of people struggle with.
Adventure, 4 homes in 4 continents, travel, not just you to be wealthy, but your family to have indestructible legacy building wealth, contribution, the ability to give back, work when I want, end the grind. John put in the chat. Let's get a couple more of you to put in the chat your so I can statements. Flexibility, family time, traveling, financial security, family, wealth, and time. Financial, I would even one up financial security, financial abundance. Security is just enough. Abundance is I can spend any amount of money on anything I want whenever I want, right? Work when I want, that's a form of flexibility. Take on the cases I want. Get involved in whatever I want to with my time. The freedoms that we have in life, we have freedom of time, we have freedom of money, and we have freedom of relationship. Three freedoms. I can wake up in the morning and I can choose whatever the hell I want to spend time on that day. By the way, what is the only one of these 3 things we never get back? We could break up with a relationship and get a relationship back. We could lose money and get money back. But what's the only thing we don't get back? So the most important freedom of all is time freedom. That's why, to me, the law firm owner I'm talking about making $40 million a year that's chained to their business, to me, that's not my definition of success. Because I want time freedom. I want to be able to enter my week, have a blank calendar, and go, what would be fun to focus on this week? Right? Freedom of money. This is simple. This is what we're talking about, financial abundance. Like, example of freedom of money. I've had stem cell treatment in my right knee. And had I not, that stem cell treatment cost $10,500. And 99% of the population will never be able to get stem cell treatment in their bodies. This is why joint replacements are like so popular nowadays. And it's really a travesty because it's not covered by insurance. It's really sad. But the ability for me to do stem cell treatment, the abilities for when I had my daughter to hire a night nurse for the first year so that every single night she didn't sleep through the night, my wife and I slept like babies. The ability to, last weekend, with 2 hours notice, go to Puerto Rico for 4 days at a 5-star resort with 5-minute notice. That was freedom of money and freedom of time. With, 2 hours, I told my wife, hey, we're going to Puerto Rico tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. She was like, what? That's part of the reason we have a great relationship is we're complete opposites. She would never, ever, ever do something like that. I'm always throwing wrenches. But we went to Puerto Rico for 5 days with literally 5 minutes of a conversation. And it's because I had nothing in my calendar, time freedom. And I was able to spend the $20,000 or whatever to go there. Right? And be at a 5-star resort and bring my baby. That's time and money freedom and the adventure component you're talking about. Not to use myself as an example. I just had a couple of recent examples of this. Relational freedom. One of the main reasons for dissatisfaction in work is you have to work with people that you don't like. Right? You have to spend time with people you don't like. If you don't have these 3 freedoms, you're trapped. Right? So you've got to reset your vision around these 3 freedoms. You've got to reset your personal rule book around adventure, travel, home, family wealth, family time, contribution, work when I want. And if these things are just, I'll get to it when the time's right, maybe I'll get, remove myself from my business a little more, maybe. We'll see when the time's right. What do you think's the chance you're going to actually get those freedoms? So that's the first and most important rule on how to work less, make more money is reset your personal vision. And understand that your level of business ownership is going to be the vehicle through which you reach that personal vision.
Bill, reset your personal vision. Absolutely. Can I please add that you also feel you deserve that level of success?
Yep.
Because if you don't feel you deserve it, you're not going to strive for it.
Yep. Number 2 is high quality profit target. Such an important concept. The outcome of your business should be high quality profit. What do I mean by high quality profit? This is such a simple concept. I had to break it down today because if we're going to talk about personal vision and not talk about high quality profit, then we're not going to have much takeaways from today's session. So high quality profit target. What is high quality profit target? Okay. Well, the purpose of the business is to create high quality profit. So I'm going to first start with what's low quality profit. There's plenty of businesses, the majority of businesses who have profit have low quality profit. What's low quality profit? Let's break this down. Low quality profit is what we don't want. And that is profit that requires your time investment for it. That's low quality profit. It's profit without the freedom component. So if you have to work, and by the way, there's, again, the majority of businesses that have profit have low quality profit. Feeling forced to work with clients you don't like. Love that, John. Low quality profit means your quality of life is lower as a result of the profit. Simple, done, very easy to understand. There are so many law firm owners who work 16 hours a day and actually do make a good profit. They make good take-home income. But the problem is the only way they got that income was working 16 hours a day. The only way they got that income was working with clients they hate. The only way they got that income was working with low quality clients. I love, Chase, what you said though. You earn profits, but you have no time to even enjoy the profits. Right? So we want high quality profits. We want profits that we can enjoy. We want profits that are not dependent on us. We want profits that are with people we like. We want profits that are for good work. Here's another type of low quality profit is you make a lot of profit, you have a lot of free time, but you do it by running a Ponzi scheme and ripping everyone off. You do it by running a pyramid scheme or something, right? Like that's low quality profit too. You could have all the free time in the world, you could have a yacht, you could have vacation homes, but if you're unethical in how you get your profits, you're going to always live with that, right? So we want emotional freedom from our profits too. High quality profit target. Number 3, how do we work less and make more money? You got to replace yourself. I'm just breaking it down, the simple, like Socratic simplicity here of how do you work less and make more money? Well, the only way to work less, if a business needs work done, it's got to get someone else to do the work. Unless you just stop doing work for clients and taking money from them. Got to replace yourself. Got to stop convincing yourself you're the only person who can do it. No one can do it like me. I'm some special Jedi lawyer. You know, whatever you've told yourself. How would you unpack the replace yourself category, Vic?
Sorry, what was that question again, Bill?
How would you categorize and break down the replace yourself step?
Well, first of all, looking, number one, at how I'm currently spending my time, low-level tasks. That's, I think, where most people get captured, doing too much low-level activity with the false economic belief that they're saving money and not understanding that it's actually costing them money by doing that. Because once you replace yourself with the low level activity, it allows you then to focus on the high income activity.
Remove yourself from low level tasks in the business constantly. Stop with the mindset of, oh, I'm doing this because I'm saving money. No, you're actually robbing from your future by doing low level tasks. You've got to learn how to recruit A players. If you've never recruited someone who's smarter than you, of course you never thought you could replace yourself. Right? I think this is one of the biggest, I'm sure you share this sentiment, Vic, in all your businesses you've ran. Hiring one person who's smarter than you in an area of your business is like the most transformational experience I think any business owner can have. Can you bring yourself back to a time with one of your gyms or one of your other big businesses you ran where you hire one great person and it's like, oh my God, I can step away?
Yeah, look, I had to get out of my own way for that to happen, because at that top point of time, I was the center of the universe. I loved being the center of the universe, and I was the superhero. When I realized that I wasn't going to achieve my outcomes with that type of thinking, I had to be comfortable and allow myself to truly understand there are better people out there to run areas of my business. And once you get out of your own way, then the rest of it will fall into place.
Number 4, this is a very simple concept. Self-managing law firm. So number 1, we have to reset our personal vision, expand our personal vision. Number 2, we have to set our high quality profit target. Number 3, we have to replace ourselves. Once we've done these 3 things, we're making higher quality profit. We've replaced ourselves. Now we've got to build a self-managing law firm. And I want this to be a commitment, a formal commitment you make to yourself in your own growth trajectory as a business owner, that I am going to do whatever it takes to build a self-managing law firm. What does self-managing law firm mean? I don't mean self as in you managing the law firm. I mean what? The law firm manages it, what? Itself. 100%. What does managing itself mean? Well, you have survival businesses. That's 90% of businesses. Survival businesses is I got to frantically do all this work to make enough money to survive. That's 90% of businesses. Okay. Then we have this semi self-managing law firm. What does that mean? Semi self-managing law firm. Now, most businesses never get out of survival. Semi self-managing law firm is sometimes the business works without me, but then it always ends up breaking. It always ends me coming in to fix things. Third category is self-managing law firm. That's what this category is. But I want you to set a category even beyond self-managing. I want you to set this as the goal. Self-multiplying law firm. That's where the real money is made. Because self-managing means the firm's making 200. And by the way, self-managing is a big, big, big deal. And I want you to tie this to your quality profit target. If your law firm, I want everyone's attention right now if you're listening. If your law firm is profiting $500,000 a year, let me just use this as an example. And it requires 16 hours of work per day from you to produce that $500,000 a year of profit versus, let's say you put in a year of work to have the firm still profit $500,000 a year, but instead you have to work 1 hour per week to produce that $500,000 in profit instead of 16 hours a day. Which of those is more valuable? 1 hour a week, right? Because it's less individual time input on your behalf. Pretty simple. But self-managing law firm, this category here, that's like the first goal you want to set for yourself. Get it to self-managing. But then as soon as you get it self-managing, you want to get it to self-multiplying. You want to be able to have it print more money and more free time without your involvement. Right? That's where your profit grows without your involvement. Your revenues grow, your quality of clients grows without your involvement. And if we bring us back to the lawyer legacy staircase that we shared, this is when you become a real entrepreneur. When you have a self-multiplying business, not just self-managing. You want to add anything on this one, Vic?
No, I think you've covered it well there, especially with the multiplying effect, because obviously when we say self-multiplying, you've got a team in place that's doing it for you.
Yep.
With minimal input from yourself.
Mm-hmm. Number 5 is run the business with numbers. Run the business with numbers. If you want to work less and make more money, you cannot do that without running the business with numbers. So you've got to get comfortable with profit and loss statements. You've got to get great at understanding gross profit. You've got to get great at financial projections.
You also have to be great at your intake numbers, your marketing numbers, Bill. Because ultimately, you're only going to improve what you measure.
Intake and marketing numbers, efficiency and hours per case. That's huge. If one law firm's average fee per case is $10,000 and it takes an average amount of time of an attorney on your team to handle a $10,000 case, let's say it takes an attorney on your team 20 working hours to handle a $10,000 fee. If one of your competitors can handle a $10,000 fee for only 5 hours of attorney time, instead of you 20 hours of attorney time, in theory, you're going to be 4 times more profitable than that other firm because it takes less hours per case on your behalf. Right? Now, this is why we have a fractional CFO and fractional COO solution, which we have a 100% client retention rate for, because this is a pressing need. When I'm saying you need to learn this stuff, you either need to do it or you need to find a who to do it for you. 100% of the firms on this call, if you're doing over 500,000 to, over $1 million to 15 million, and you don't have a dedicated person to help you with these things, you need a fractional CFO, you need a fractional COO. You are burning money and burning the efficiency of your firm if you don't have a fractional executive to solve these issues, because you already have way too much stuff going on to do this yourself. So find a fractional executive like your life depends on it. I would love to have the opportunity to have one of our fractional executives work within your firm. But I don't really care if it's ours or if it's someone else's. What I care is that you find a fractional executive to help you with these problems. I've seen the results it has, and it's one of the most transformational decisions a law firm owner could ever make in the business side of their firm. So one way to kind of help you on this as we're coming to a close here is I want everyone who hasn't taken advantage of our growth, profit, and freedom roadmap yet to take advantage of it. Okay, we are going to analyze your law firm. We're giving out 20 slots for this. I believe we have about 7 slots left. We are going to give you a custom analysis of your firm across your lead generation, your profits, your self-managing team, and your intake process. We're going to rate your firm. You're going to have to answer questions across multiple categories here. We're going to rate your firm against the most successfully ran firms in your practice area. And we're going to give you a report on your biggest strengths and your biggest opportunities for advancement. And once you fill out this, you're going to be given a report on exactly where to focus and what actionable steps you can put in place to optimize these areas. Then we're actually going to give you the opportunity to talk with a member of our team after you fill this out. Talk through a strategy for you to fix these areas. And like I just said, we have the number one, I guess I can now say this since it's true, we have the number one fractional executive business in the industry. There's no one even close to the work that we're doing for law firms. If you believe you can benefit from a fractional CFO or COO, this is a great first step to know how you would direct their actions. And again, a member of our team can help break down this report for you and see if we're a mutual fit. But regardless, use this report. This report will cost thousands of dollars in the future. And we're giving it away to you for free today as a token of gratitude for you attending the talk show today. So the link is in the chat. Again, the link is smbteam.com/roadmap. We do have 7 spots left for this. So if you click smbteam.com/roadmap, that link in the chat, and we'll be one of the final 7 firms to get this, you will get your custom report and you can put it into action immediately for your firm. So it was a great time breaking down this whole concept for everyone. For those of you who don't know who SMB Team is, we are the only law firm growth acceleration company in the legal industry. We've been the fastest growing company in the legal industry now for 4 years in a row, according to Inc. 5000. We are a 150 employee company that started just 8 years ago, helping law firms scale. We've helped double 140 law firms' revenues, proven by the self-reported results of our clients. And we'd love to have the opportunity to have you be the 141st law firm that we can help double your revenues, your profits, and your freedom. So if you want to check out anything about our services, you can go to smbteam.com, and would love to welcome you to the family. So thank you for your time. Thank you, Vic, for sharing your business wisdom on this concept on 5 ways law firm owners can get their freedom back, work less, and make more money. And please, please, everyone, anchor into that personal vision and make sure that your business actions align with that personal vision. And I'll see everyone next time on the Law Firm Growth Accelerator live talk show. See you later.